Hello everybody, welcome to the Comic Game Movie Show. My name is John, and today I'm here to talk about something that has been trending for a couple days. Yesterday, Daredevil, the rights to Daredevil, to do a live-action Daredevil, officially reverted back to Disney/Marvel Studios after the 2-year wait in the contract that they had. They got Luke Cage and Iron Fist back not that long ago, maybe a couple weeks ago. They'll be getting Jessica Jones back and the Punisher momentarily, maybe a couple months from now. So the hashtag went out. Save Daredevil. Hashtag Save Daredevil. Everyone's talking about that. Like, a lot of nerds are talking about it. It's still trending now. And I really don't think people understand how things work. Now, I've made videos talking about this kind of topic before, but I really want to just get into just explaining to people why plugging Daredevil into the MCU is not as easy as it sounds. It sounds easy, but it's not that easy, actually. It's actually much more complicated than people think. First of all, up top, you have to rehire all the cast and crew. The reason that you have to rehire all the cast and the crew, well, people really want most of the cast to come back, which that causes problems as well, because one, all those contracts for all the cast were expired. They already happened. They got paid all the money they were supposed to get paid. All of them are going to come back. People like Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox and Deborah Wool, I think her name's Deborah Wool, Deborah Wool, they're all going to want bigger deals. They're going to come back and want bigger deals. So you got to worry about that. So you got to negotiate deals with them again. Not to mention, you have to bring back the crew, because if you don't bring back the people behind the scenes, the entire show will take on a different tone, because if you're hiring new people, the show is just going to feel completely different. It's not going to feel like that show that people are asking to come back. And we've all seen how that happens sometimes, where where somebody new will come in and work on a show, or a show will come back with new people, and it doesn't feel organic or like the show that they wanted in the first place, and it fails. So you would have to bring all of them back, which would be a whole complicated mess just to go through it all and find all of them. Not to mention, once you bring all these people back, you might end up having to give Jeff Loeb a producer credit on it, just because he's the person who originally, was the head producer on this entire project. So you might have to give him credit, which also leads to another problem, because Kevin Feige clearly, at least as far as I've seen, not only does he not like Jeff Loeb, he doesn't want to touch anything Jeff Loeb had any involvement in. It felt like the only reason, and I know some people have argued, but it felt like the only reason he worked with Jeff Loeb on Agent Carter and let Jeff Loeb play with a couple of his toys on the first couple seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was because he was being forced to do it, because at that point, he was under Ike Perlmutter. But if you notice something, the people who come at me a bit on Twitter who will argue with me, well, this character showed up, and this character showed up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and this character showed up. If you notice something, after 2016, when Kevin Feige made his big move, you don't see shit. You hear mentions of things, but you don't see anybody. You don't see no cameos. You barely hear a mention. That is it. After 2016, Feige no longer had to play ball with Marvel TV, and he stopped playing ball with Marvel TV. He didn't have to anymore, so he stopped doing it. And that's just a huge indicator to me that he really doesn't want to work with Jeff Loeb, and he really doesn't want his name on anything. There's a reason Jeff Loeb is gone. So that is also a hang-up. Not to mention the fact that if you bring back the show and you just bring everything back and do it from where it started, you would basically be giving free promotion to Netflix. Because basically, if people want to see the beginning of this show, they have to go watch Netflix and then come back. I'm sorry. I don't know if you've done a business, but if you open up a donut, if you opened up, I don't know, I'm trying to think of something. I'm trying to think of an equivalent to this. Like, if you opened up, I don't know, if you had a video game, right? And the video game is technically in this video game, and this video game is a sequel to a lesser known video game. And you make it, everyone loves it. They go, oh man, I wonder what the first game was like. You don't own the rights to the first game. And they gotta go to somewhere else to go buy it. Man, you name the whole sequel the same name and everything, and it's basically promoting this product, and it kind of goes, well, that original one is just as good too. Then everyone's gonna go over there to buy that. Now you're not getting paid for that original one, you're just getting paid for the sequel. That's it. That Marvel would only get paid, it wouldn't benefit the MCU, Disney at all to be promoting Netflix. You'd be promoting Netflix. You'd be making people have to go over to Netflix to watch the original series and then come back to Disney Plus. So that's something that's not gonna work. There's just a multitude of reasons and things that just makes it complicated to just plug Daredevil and the rest of the Defenders into the MCU. One of the bigger things that no one talks about is just the aesthetic, the aesthetic, the visual of that Daredevil, that world that they set up on Netflix, with Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and Punisher, is a completely different world and vibe than the MCU. And some people take that as, oh yeah, well that's cool, it's a different, no. It would be like, putting that Daredevil in that world, all that stuff in the MCU, would be like if Lego Batman randomly showed up, if Lego Batman from the Lego Batman movie, in the exact same art style, 3D, showed up in a 2D Chippendale Rescue Rangers show. You would be like, what in the fuck is happening? You would be confused. You'd be befuddled. You'd be like, this doesn't visually make any sense. This doesn't actually cope well. It doesn't logically line up. And that'd be the same thing with Daredevil and the rest of the Defenders. I mean, for Christ's sakes, the strongest fucking character on that show can just stop a fucking could stop an 18, could just stop a truck. Fucking Captain America kicked a truck into a guy. He threw a goddamn, he's throwing goddamn bikes at people. Like, the level of power in the MCU and in the visual aesthetic of the MCU is so vastly different than the Netflix stuff that it would just throw people off and it would just take people out of the entire thing because it doesn't match up. It doesn't make sense. It's one of the things that I know some people complain about the MCU having a samey, visual design a lot of times, but that's done on purpose. You know why it's done? Why the MCU has that visual design is so that when they do something crazy, it's so that when moments like Rocket Raccoon showing up on Earth, moments like, Rocket and Tony Stark and huge, hulked out Bruce Banner sitting over the Infinity Gauntlet don't look weird because your brain is processed that, like, it's a lot of things to take in, but the MCU purposely designs their stuff so that your brain can process to have, like, it's as if, like, you see something that you've seen before, this visual style. So no matter how weird the characters are, no matter what the characters are doing, that visual style's still there. So when those characters finally interact with characters who you're just like, it should be mind-blowing, it should be insane, you should not be able to buy Rocket Raccoon having a conversation with Tony Stark. But since the visual design is the way that it is, you are, because you don't think about it. You're just like, oh, well, the visual design lines up. I don't think about it. It wouldn't work that way with the Netflix series because they're so vastly different. And like I said earlier, if they want to, and some people might argue, well, you can just change it to make it fit. You can just change it all. But then it would vastly change the show. The reason the show looked the way it did, the reason the show felt the way it did, was because of its budget. Was because it didn't have a very big budget. It didn't have CGI in it. That's the reason it looked the way that it did. So if you want to update it to make it fit in the MCU, it would make it a completely different show. And then in which case, what is the point of bringing everyone back? These are the things that people aren't talking about or thinking about. Whenever I see someone talking about this topic, they make it seem like it's so easy. They're just like, just plug it in. Just plug it in. Just put them in this. Just put them in there. Just put them in there. Just put them there. Just put them. It doesn't fucking work like that. It is not that fucking simple. And like I say, I just wanted to make this video to let people understand that this hashtag Save Daredevil thing is not that simple. There are so many variables that are going into this show. As I said, you gotta bring the cast back who are gonna want new deals, which is gonna cost an arm and a leg. You gotta find all the crew, you gotta bring back most of the original crew, or the show is gonna take on a completely different vibe, in which case, what's the point of bringing it back? Kevin Feige has to acknowledge the existence of Jeff Loeb, which it clearly doesn't seem like is something he wants to fucking do. You have to pretty much give free promotion to Netflix for as long as you're free promotion to Netflix, because the only way you can see the original shit is to go to Netflix. And to top it all off, if you have to change the visual style of it, because that visual style from the original won't fit in the MCU. But if you change the visual style, then it's no longer the original vision. You see what I'm saying here, people? You see what I'm saying? It's not that fucking simple. And it's kind of bugging me that a lot of people, like everyone's got their fanboy flag out. I understand everyone's got their fanboy and fangirl flag out. They're just like, I want this because I want to see this character that I love interact with these other characters that I love. But the thing is, I don't think this is going to work. I don't think this hashtag is going to do much damage because some people keep talking about the Snyder Cut. The reason the Snyder Cut worked is because Warner Brothers ain't making calls anymore. AT&T is the owner of Warner Brothers are making these calls, and they just want their money back. So they want to do anything it takes to get their money back, and if that means letting Zack Snyder come in and milking the fanboys, that's what they're gonna do. But on top of that shit, they don't know what the fuck they're doing over there. They're just greenlighting shit. They don't just like, whatever, do something. They don't have a plan. They're just doing things over there. So yeah, your hashtag work for that because they're in chaos. They don't have any stability. But this is the fucking MCU. $23 billion and counting. This is the biggest franchise in the history of Hollywood with the biggest money-making producer in the history of Hollywood. They have a plan, they have an idea, they know where they're going, and they're not going. Do you really think? And the thing is, none of you are actually going to do anything. Are you really not going to watch the new X-Men when they come out? Are you really not going to watch Secret Wars over Daredevil? Get real. You're not. And that's the thing. That's why I don't think this hashtag Savedaredevil thing's gonna work. Because I'm like, you're not gonna not watch the next Avengers. You're gonna watch WandaVision. It looked interesting to you. You're not gonna put your foot down on this because it'd be like, really? Are you gonna like, really? Like this is what you're gonna put your foot down on? Even though it doesn't make any logical sense, you're gonna put your foot down on that? That's the thing. That's why I don't think this is gonna work. Because I'm like, you guys aren't gonna actually do anything. So, in short, I don't think the hashtag's gonna work. Bringing Daredevil into the MCU is a lot more complicated than it sounds, and not to mention all the work and all the effort that would go into it. It would be just better to clean sweep it and do it from scratch and try to do something new and do it the best you can. Yes, it will always be compared to the original Daredevil series. It will always be compared to that, and it will never live up because fans won't let it live up. That's what they've been doing to Spider-Man Tom Holland ever since it came out. You know, no matter how good those movies are, those Tom Holland Spider-Man movies are, there will never be those original, Raimi movies because, we have that love and affinity for them, and nothing, unless they did a love letter to it, like it was the exact same kind of movie, just like, a love letter. Unless they did that, there was no way, there's no way you can go in a different direction and be better than something that people already love. So it's an uphill battle with that. But the thing is, people are going to show up to see it though, because they're going to want to know what it looks like. So I digress. That's my thoughts on the hashtag Save Daredevil. What do you guys think? Do you think the hashtag will work? Did you actually listen to any of the stuff I said, or are you going to comment below? You just plug them in. Because if that's what you're going to say, then you're part of the problem. Thank you guys for joining the Comic Game Movie Show. Please remember to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.